Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Tuesdays, wherever you may be across this great country or this great land. I'd encourage you to go read a unique Outkick Anonymous mailbag that is up today and focuses on doctors sending in their thoughts on the coronavirus. We have a lot of doctors who read Outkick, which terrifies all the people who hate me. And I offered them an anonymity if they would send in their thoughts about the coronavirus. And so typically in the anonymous mailbag, we give everybody anonymity. I requested that they let us know about it, prove that they're doctors, and it was pretty outstanding. So I would encourage you to go check that out. We got a lot to get to. Coronavirus update. The protests/riots/protest. Major League Baseball update. Carole Baskin, her feud with Joe Exotic continues, and Instagram girls are living it up during our crazed coronavirus and pandemic and protest universe. All right. So I want to start off with the coronavirus. All right. Coronavirus, and there is almost no issues here. All right. Hold on a sec. Can anybody not hear the sound? Can you hear the sound? I don't know why you suddenly would be unable to hear the sound. Can you hear the sound now? On Facebook, let me know if you can hear the sound. Hold on a sec. We got technical difficulties. I know we're good on Periscope. Sound is fine. The number of people out there that immediately, they don't turn their sound on. Can you hear? Hold on a sec. I know we're good on Periscope. Is sound good, Facebook? Yes, they can hear me perfectly. I don't know why people are compelled. You should assume that if you can't hear something, it's you and not me. All right, can we set a new rule in place here? If you can't hear something, presume it is you and not me. Maybe you got your phone sound off. Maybe you got it on mute. All right, so presume it's you. All right, having said all that, let me dive right into it. First of all, thank you for the audience out there. May, the biggest month in the history of Outkick. A lot of new writers that we brought in. Biggest podcast audience ever. Most audio listeners of this show, which is important that you can hear me, I guess. And also the most video viewers of this show. We are continuing to roll. All right. And we're also continuing to roll against the coronavirus. Have you noticed that the coronavirus, nobody's talking about it all of a sudden? It's like it just disappeared. It was all corona for March, April, and then boom, suddenly it disappears in May. Goes right off the screen on Fox News, right off the screen on CNN, right off the screen on MSNBC. And that means that nobody noticed hardly that yesterday was the best day for coronavirus numbers since March the 26th. We had only 469 people die from the coronavirus yesterday. To put that into perspective, 7,100 people died of something other than the coronavirus in America yesterday. Nobody cared about those guys or girls. 469 die of the coronavirus, and everybody's running around like their hair's caught on fire. 7,100 people die of something else, and nobody even knows. All right? Also, 16,191 cases exist since March 26th. That is the lowest number of new cases that we have seen. As if that were not enough. Also, 4% positivity with 400,000 cases being confirmed. 400,000 tests being confirmed, only a 4% positivity. All those incredibly good numbers. Nobody in the media talking about it. Nobody in the media talking about 4% positivity, 16,191 new cases, only 469 deaths. All right? When you actually look through the numbers, it's pretty unbelievable. 96% of the people who were tested for the coronavirus didn't have it according to the data that we got it yesterday. This is also fascinating because yesterday happened to be June the 1st. And if you think about it, June the 1st was a day that was going to be a big day for everybody out there. The New York Times had a front page article where the New York Times said, and I quote, there will be 3,000 deaths per day by June 1st, and also there will be 200,000 cases per day if we open the states back up. That was a front page article citing sources on the front page of the New York Times. The New York Times said there will be 3,000 deaths a day and also that there would be 200,000 cases a day. The actual numbers, 469 deaths, so a little bit off from 3,000, and a little bit off 16,191 cases as opposed to 200,000. Pretty fascinating. That's where we are on the coronavirus. And as I told you before, it's basically disappeared in Italy. It's basically disappeared in France. It's basically disappeared in Spain. And it has basically disappeared in Germany as well. England is still working through it all, but the virus in Western Europe, by and large, has vanished. Okay? And so has the argument that you can't be out in public with anybody because the protesters are out by the thousands. Okay? So I want to pivot here to the protesters. I got a crazy idea. And evidently, it's a wacky idea because nobody else is doing it. I both support the protesters and I support the police. And I think every American should be doing both. And so I'm often troubled by the binary nature of social media where you have to choose a side and then you have to claim that the other side has absolutely nothing good about it. As a First Amendment absolutist, I support the rights of any peaceful protesters to protest. All right? You have the right to protest anything. I supported everybody protesting the lockdown. I support everybody protesting racial injustice in the wake of what happened in Minnesota. But I also support all of the police officers out there who are forced now to put their life on the line to allow the protesters to do so and are being abused in the process very often, despite the fact that they have nothing at all to do with what happened in Minnesota. Last night, it's not getting anywhere near the attention I think it should be getting, but last night, 4 St. Louis police officers were shot. 1 Las Vegas police officer was shot. 2 Buffalo police officers were driven over in a video that went viral, and 1 New York City cop was run over. That's 8 cops that were targets from protesters last night. Now, I shouldn't say protesters. There is a violent element of the protesting community that is hiding and embedding itself in the protest and looking for an opportunity to riot and loot. We have to go out and grab those who are committing crimes and charge them to the fullest extent of the law and put them in jail. Protesting is not a crime. Rioting and looting is. This isn't difficult. You should be supporting police, I believe, and also simultaneously supporting the right of people to protest. Racism exists. It's an awful thing. You should be able to protest against it. Some police are racist, just like some of every profession is racist. But the vast majority of people in America, of all races, white, black, Asian, and Hispanic, are good and decent human beings who are trying to do well every single day and make the world a little bit better than it otherwise would be. And so when you actually look at what's going on in America, I don't think there's any need to choose sides. There's only one side. It's the side of supporting the right to protest and also supporting the right of police to be able to safely do their jobs. I also think we need to give a tremendous amount of praise that I'm not hearing anybody do for our police and National Guard that are out there on the front lines, taking bricks to the head, getting burning Molotov cocktails thrown at them, being attacked, shoved, prodded, insulted in every possible way you can imagine. And incredibly, none of them, almost none of them, are breaking under that strain. That is an incredible testament to what they are going through. Long hours, standing out there in the street in full body armor, not aware of when you might be called upon to either risk your life or defend someone else's. And they have done an incredible job. Think about how many tens of thousands of protesters, hundreds of thousands of protesters there are across this country, and there are almost no significant injuries in the protesting community. That's amazing. That's a testament to the police and also to the National Guard. Now, I'm not blindly endorsing anybody. I'm not saying every protester is a saint. I'm not saying every policeman is a sinner or vice versa. But we should be supporting both. This is not a complex issue. We also should be using facts to make decisions and not allowing fear to drive us once more into poor choices like we already saw with the coronavirus, where the CBO came out and said it might take 10 years to get all the jobs that we lost back from the 2 months that we shut down for the coronavirus. It's time for everybody to be back to work. Michigan, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Minnesota. A lot of you in the Big Ten country are watching me right now. California. It makes no sense that your states are still locked down. There's zero data that supports it at all. You can argue we should have never locked down in the first place. Come on, this is not actually difficult at all. Get back into the job situation, and let's get back to the American economy, providing jobs for a lot of different people, which will undercut the desire and time for a lot of people to be out who want to be up to no good. All right. That is my analysis in general. You have to protect the people. It's a number one goal in a protest. We got to make sure that we can do that. All right. Those are my thoughts on the coronavirus, on the protests, on the riots, on the looting, everything that's been going on in a cataclysmic, wild 2020 so far. Major League Baseball. Let me look straight into the camera here. Major League Baseball. Players, owners, agents. It is time for you to be back on the field. All right? You have to be back on the field now. You need to be back on the field right today, actually working. This is not a complicated situation. The latest offer from the owners is 50 games. The players asked for 110 games. The number now is back between them at 82. And if you play 82 games, I'm back to the same point that I made earlier. Why would you not split revenue for players out there? I think there's a good chance Major League Baseball games could be played with crowds present. Look at what's going on in Texas. They are saying now in Texas 25% capacity. Why couldn't the Astros and the Rangers play in front of partial crowds and that start to spread across the entire nation? Props to NASCAR, which is already back, but there's a report out there that NASCAR is thinking about coming back in June with fans present already. People have been debating whether fans are going to be present in September or not. We may have fans present in June. Okay? This is a good sign. We are moving quickly back to normalcy. But Major League Baseball, 50 games is not enough. 82 probably feels right. Get back in camps. You guys should be playing now. I don't care who you're a fan of. I don't even care if you don't like baseball. It's better to have games than not have games. This is crazy. Some people just asking about Jason Whitlock. Buddy of mine, Jason Whitlock, has left Fox Sports. He chose, they couldn't come to contract terms. And so Jason Whitlock is no longer with Fox. I think he's got a lot of good options out there. A lot of people are interested in Jason Whitlock working for them. I think he likes the idea of being completely untethered if you look at what Joe Rogan did, if you look at what Bill Simmons did, if frankly you look at what Barstool did, the people who have made big paydays of late have not been affiliated with major media companies. So, as the owner of a company called Outkick, I think we're going to do pretty well in the years ahead, and I think we're going to do a lot better than most people in terms of salaries are going to make on television. So I know there's a lot of people that Jason Whitlock is interested in talking to. I know there are a lot of people that are interested in hiring Jason Whitlock. I think he's wildly talented. I think he's one of the most, if not the most talented writers in sports writing, media and sports reporting in general. And so I think his voice will be heard. I think it's going to be valuable, and I think the audience will be substantial. But as someone who works at FS1, I'm sad to see him leave FS1 too. So I've kind of got my foot in two different platforms, right? I get to do television, and then I also get to do running Outkick and do radio and everything else. And so I understand the desire for people to have as much freedom as they possibly can. Now, I work a lot, and I know Jason Whitlock's a hard worker, so we'll see what ends up happening to him. I think they are going to, there are going to be a lot of good options for him. So I'm sad to see him go, but also excited for whatever he decides to do going forward. Did you see Carole Baskin? Carole Baskin, seems like a long time ago that we were all watching The Tiger King. Carole Baskin, according to a recent court order, got the opportunity to take over the GW Zoo. In a final kick in the teeth to Joe Exotic, Carole Baskin is now the owner of the Wynnewood, Oklahoma Zoo that Joe Exotic ran. It seems like that thing aired like 10 years ago now as a sign of how long ago it was in the shutdown. I guess I watched that back in March. She now has got the rights to that, and I believe is going to be able to make Joe Exotic's life even more miserable than it already is. So it's a crazy story when you break it down. I don't know that it can get any crazier, but Carole Baskin being the ultimate winner is a pretty tough situation for her to end up with. Finally, social media is a cesspool, and there are lots of people that are ridiculous on social media. But if you actually dive into the numbers behind social media, one of the most ridiculous parts of all of social media is the concept of an Instagram influencer. By and large, Instagram influencers are good-looking girls who post videos of themselves and photos of themselves looking good and trying to connect with the moment. All over Los Angeles, Instagram models have been trying to find ways to look good surrounding the protests and also the pandemic. And that in and of itself is pretty crazy, the way that is all shaking out. That we would have situations where Instagram models are pretending to fix broken parts of Los Angeles. You need to see some of these videos. Maybe we can integrate them in here into a short clip. That in and of itself is absolutely absurd, and it is vintage Instagram ridiculousness. Also, I want to say a couple of things about Coach Pat Dye from Auburn. As an old school SEC football fan, I loved watching Coach Dye play and coach his Auburn Tigers. Coach Dye has what I think is one of the greatest quotes in the history of college football. When he took over at Auburn, it still gives me chill bumps to think about the answer to this situation. Coach Dye was asked early on in one of his press conferences at Auburn, how long is it going to take to beat Alabama? And Coach Dye responded, 60 minutes. I'll be damned if that's not one of the greatest quotes in the history of college football. He did beat Alabama a lot, and he took Auburn to an incredibly high level. But how long is it going to take to beat Alabama? He answered 60 minutes. One of the great quotes of all time. I am totally in awe of that line. And I loved watching Pat Dye's Auburn Tigers team play. I was a young guy when Bo Jackson was there, but one of my earliest memories is of being in Neyland Stadium when Tennessee pulled off a huge upset over Auburn, and how awesome it was to be in that stadium at that exact time. It was an unbelievable experience. And so this is, I believe, absolutely incredible. And so I appreciate what Pat Dye did and what he represented for SEC football. That is pretty much my entire thoughts on the matter of the issues of the day. I appreciate all of you. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. My name is Clay Travis. Thank you for making our audience so incredibly substantial. Some people are obsessed and want me to comment on coworkers. I don't comment on coworkers. So I'm going to have to block people who are just obsessively running around. Like, I have private relationships, and that's what I do. And so other people can make their own choices, but that's not what I do. So I appreciate all of you. My name is Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for hanging out with me. And also thank you for making May the biggest and most successful month in the history of the Outkick universe. Trust me, we have got a lot more coming your way. June is going to be exciting in the Outkick universe. I appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. By the way, lock it in. I'll be back for season 3. Should be fun. Love you guys. I will see you. This is Outkick the Show, and my name is Clay Travis. Kisses, DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. Love you. Thank you guys.